Bonnie is pregnant, my husband said, and the Bonnie he talked about is his mistress. Her father promised to buy me a house if I marry her. You know how much I've always wanted a place of my own. A house. Seriously? He had no idea. What he didn't know was that I was the daughter of the chairman of Gold Leaf Realty Group. Our family owned properties all over the country. Derek and I had been together for 3 years, married for 6 months. Back in college he had pursued me relentlessly for half a year, 6 full months of unwavering effort. When I finally agreed to be with him, he treated me like a queen, making me the envy of everyone around us. After graduation, despite my family's strong opposition, I insisted on marrying Derek. I wanted my parents to see his potential, to believe in his ambition. I wanted to prove to them, and maybe even to myself, that Derek wasn't with me for my money. So I agreed to keep my real identity a secret. Together we applied for jobs and started from the very bottom at Gold Leaf Realty Group, the very company my father owned. For the past 6 months we had been living in a rented apartment, not just the two of us but with his mother, Susan. Owning a house had become Derek's greatest obsession. Susan, could you try using a little less salt next time? You have a heart condition and the doctor said too much salt could put extra strain on your heart. Especially at your age, it's important to watch your diet. I had just gotten home from work, taken a few bites, and once again the food was unbearably salty. I kept my tone gentle as I spoke to her. Susan had been heavy-handed with seasonings for as long as I could remember. I, on the other hand, had always preferred lighter flavors, and more than that, I was genuinely concerned about her health. Her expression darkened immediately. If you don't like it, cook for yourself. I'm making dinner for you too, and instead of being grateful you're nitpicking? You're impossible to please. That's not what I meant, Susan, I tried to explain. I know you put in a lot of effort cooking for us. I just want you to take care of yourself. But after 6 months of living together it was clear, we just didn't get along. For Derek's sake I swallowed my pride every time. I didn't want these trivial conflicts to drive a wedge between us. So I always made an effort to soften my words when talking to her. Well, I won't cook anymore. I'm too old to be slaving away in the kitchen just to be criticized. This is unbelievable. With that she stormed off to her room. I turned to Derek expecting, hoping, for something, anything. But he just kept eating, head down, acting as if none of this had happened. As if I wasn't even there. Are you seriously not going to say anything? Can't you at least say a few words to comfort her? I nudged his arm, frustration bubbling up inside me. 6 months. For 6 months. He had done this, stayed silent, avoided taking sides, pretended like our conflicts didn't exist. Every time Susan and I had an argument, he buried his head in the sand like an ostrich, distancing himself as if he were just a bystander, as if this wasn't his home, his family. Not once had he ever stood up for me. And honestly, if he had just made his stance clear, if he had supported me even a little, things wouldn't have gotten this bad. Maybe, just maybe, Susan and I wouldn't be at each other's throats all the time. The next morning, as soon as I stepped into the bathroom, I saw Susan tossing dirty clothes into the washing machine. Wait a second, Susan. Socks need to be washed separately. It's not hygienic. I rushed to stop her. She barely glanced at me. What's so unhygienic about it? We didn't even have a washing machine back in the day. Clothes, socks, everything was washed together. And look at me, I've lived this long just fine. Ignoring me completely, she dumped detergent into the machine and kept going. Susan, seriously, this isn't sanitary. You should be grateful I'm even doing your laundry. I cook, I clean, I take care of everything like a maid. And you're still not satisfied. She shot me a look, then walked off, deliberately pressing the start button on the way out. I let out a slow breath. Why was it so hard to get along with my mother-in-law? I didn't have time for this, I was already running late. Swallowing my frustration, I hurried to get ready for work. That night, as soon as I stepped into our room, I found Derek sitting on the bed, his face dark with worry. I didn't even have to ask. His mother had obviously complained to him. Again. Miranda, can you stop arguing with my mom every day? He's getting old. She cooks and cleans for us, it's not easy for her. His voice was laced with irritation. Can't you just go a day without making a fuss? Making a fuss? I almost laughed. This man, who never said a word when his mother took jabs at me, who buried his head in the sand every time there was a conflict, he finally spoke up, and it was to blame me? How exactly am I making a fuss, Derek? When have I ever raised my voice at her? Why am I the one being accused? Do you even have a sense of fairness? I was furious. All I hear when I come home is you two going at it. I'm exhausted. I'm already stressed enough at work. Can't you just let me have some peace? I clenched my fists, barely containing my anger. You think I want this, Derek? You think I enjoy fighting every day? Tell me, what did I say that was so wrong? 6 months. Ever since I moved in with Susan, my fights with Derek had become more and more frequent. And now, more often than not, he slept in the study. The silence between us was growing. It hadn't always been like this. We used to be so happy. Back in college, he'd walk me to class, take me hiking, hunt down the best food spots with me. Everyone envied me. They used to call Derek the perfect boyfriend. Thoughtful, devoted, the kind of guy who would do anything for the girl he loved. But now I barely recognized the man sitting in front of me. That weekend I went back home. Since getting married, I had never brought Derek with me, not even once. To keep my secret, I always returned alone, slipping in and out without notice. Even when I met up with my parents, we arranged to do it at restaurants instead of at home. Every time I saw them, I put on a bright smile and told them I was doing great, that they didn't need to worry. Every argument, every moment of frustration, I kept it all to myself. Miranda, we agreed not to let Derek's family know about us right away to push him to grow. But that doesn't mean you should suffer, understand? My mother looked at me, concern etched across her face. Look at you, you've lost weight again. I can't help but worry. Her eyes, full of love and worry, made my chest tighten. I forced a reassuring smile. Mom, I'm fine. Really. Don't worry about me. I didn't want to tell them anything. I just wanted to prove, to them, to myself, that I hadn't made a mistake in choosing Derek. That going against my family, fighting for this marriage, had been the right decision. After all, even though we argued all the time now, I still believed that Derek loved me. I had to believe it. That night when I got home, I was met with yet another unexpected surprise. The moment I pushed open the bedroom door, my jaw nearly dropped. Right above the bed, several oversized posters were taped to the wall. All of them were of babies. Cute, chubby, smiling babies. And our wedding photo? Gone. No sign of it anywhere. Derek, get in here. I called out, my voice laced with disbelief. He walked in, looking half distracted. What the hell is all this? Did you put these up? I demanded. Where's our wedding photo? Derek glanced at the posters, then rubbed his neck awkwardly. It wasn't me. My mom did it. She said this would help us get pregnant faster. What? Was this a joke? Did she seriously believe staring at pictures of babies would magically make me conceive? I scoffed, shaking my head in frustration. Derek, your mom may not be educated, so I don't blame her for this nonsense. But do you actually believe this? My voice rose as my patience snapped. We've been married for 6 months and you're still not pregnant. I'm just trying to help you too. And just like clockwork, Susan appeared at the door, her voice dripping with condescension. Instead of being grateful you're throwing a tantrum? I'm doing this for your own good. I clenched my fists. For my own good? Are you serious? I don't need this nonsense. I need some respect. Derek let out a heavy sigh and turned to me, not his mother but me, as if I was the problem here. Mom, just go outside for a minute. Then he looked at me with that same tired expression. Miranda, can you not make a big deal out of everything? She's just trying to help. Oh, so creating drama every single day is her way of helping? My patience was gone. I'm so freaking tired of this. All we do is fight. Every single day it's something new. I can't take it anymore. Before I could say something even harsher, I turned on my heels and slammed the bedroom door behind me. For 6 months I had swallowed my anger, bit my tongue, forced myself to be patient. All for Derek. But no matter how much I tolerated, no matter how much I backed down, his mother only pushed further. And worst of all, Derek never once took my side. I wandered the streets, lost in thought. I walked for what felt like hours, my mind tangled in memories. Before marriage, Derek and I had been happy, at least I thought we were. But after the wedding, everything changed. Everyone changed. Was marriage really just a graveyard where love went to die? I didn't want to go home. I didn't want my parents to know that all we did was fight, that our marriage wasn't the fairy tale they thought it was. And yet, even as doubt crept into my heart, doubts about our love, about whether I had rushed into this, about whether Derek had ever truly loved me, I still couldn't bring myself to let go. Because deep down some small part of me still held on to hope. So, instead of going home that night, I checked into a hotel. I thought Derek would come looking for me right away. After all, this was the first time I had ever walked out. But he never came. Not that night. Not the next day. Not even once. Days passed. Then a week. Then by the time I realized it, I had been living in that hotel for almost a month. Every time my parents called, I forced a smile into my voice, telling them, Derek and I are doing great. Don't worry about me. But the truth? Derek hadn't reached out at all. Not a single text. Not a single call. Nothing. At work. We barely even acknowledged each other. If our paths crossed, we pretended not to see. Then one Friday evening, just before the end of the workday, my phone buzzed. For the first time in a month, Derek had finally texted me. Come home tonight. We need to talk. I stared at the message, heart pounding. He finally wants to talk. Maybe this is it. Maybe we can fix this. I took a deep breath and typed out a single word, okay. Then, clutching onto the last shred of hope I had left, I headed home. Miranda, let's get a divorce. I sat on the couch staring at Derek, unable to process what I had just heard. Divorce? I had come back tonight thinking he wanted to apologize, to patch things up, to bring me home. But instead he was asking for a divorce. The man I had been with for 3 years, from college to now. The man who once held me on the rooftop of our university and promised to love me forever, was sitting here telling me it was over. I couldn't believe it. Sure, our marriage had been rocky. Sure, his mother and I never got along. But never, not once, had I seriously thought about divorce. What are you talking about, Derek? I asked again, hoping I had misheard. But his next words crushed the last sliver of hope I had. I'm with Bonnie now. She's pregnant. My entire world stopped. What? Bonnie White. A fresh college graduate. She had only been at our company for a few months. Bonnie? I was completely blindsided. He had been cheating on me, and now she was pregnant. How long had this been going on? How long had I been a fool? Derek dropped his gaze, his voice quieter. Her father said if we get married, he'll buy us a house near the company. You know how much I've always wanted my own place. But with my salary, I could never afford it on my own. A house. He was willing to throw away our marriage for a house? And the irony? He had no idea that I, his wife, was the daughter of the Gold Leaf Realty Group CEO. My family owned more properties than he could ever dream of. A bitter laugh escaped my lips. Are you sure about this? No regrets. I must have looked ridiculous. A woman who had given everything for her husband, only to be tossed aside like nothing. I had swallowed my pride, endured his mother's insults. Lived in a rented apartment just to prove I wasn't some spoiled rich girl. I had hidden my identity, started from the bottom of my own father's company, all for a man who now sat in front of me, offering me nothing but betrayal. Yes, I'm sure. I'm sorry, Miranda. He pulled a check from his pocket and placed it on the table. This is our savings from the past 2 years. We had been saving for a house. It's $20,000. Take it as compensation. Compensation? I stared at the check, my chest tightening. He was so sure that this was something he could just pay off. Like I was nothing more than a bad investment. Like all the years I had spent by his side had a price tag. My hands trembled with anger. I don't need it. My voice was cold, my heart colder. I don't need a single cent from you. Suit yourself. Before I could react, Susan snatched the check from the table, holding it close like she had just won the lottery. You ungrateful woman, she spat, her eyes burning with disdain. You can't even give my son a child, and now you're acting all high and mighty? There was the final cruel twist of the knife. For months, Derek had distanced himself from me. For months he had chosen to sleep in the study instead of by my side. And now they were blaming me? I looked at the two people in front of me, integral, and finally I felt it. Not just anger. Not just sadness. But complete, utter indifference. I picked up my bag, turned on my heel, and walked out without looking back. The divorce was finalized shockingly fast. Almost too easy. No house, no kids, no financial entanglements. Just a few signatures. And it was done. By the time I returned to work after taking some personal leave, the first thing I saw was Bonnie, standing in the middle of the office, flaunting a brand new designer bag. "Bonnie, is that the new model? I saw it in a magazine the other day, over $20,000. Who got it for you?" One of our co-workers gushed, eyes full of envy. Bonnie smirked, tossing her hair back. "Oh, this? My boyfriend got it for me." I watched her bask in the attention, and for the first time, a flicker of regret crossed my mind. I should have taken that money. If I had known it would end up buying Bonnie luxury gifts, I would have at least burned it for some satisfaction. "We're getting married next month. You all have to come." Her voice rang through the office, instantly drawing gasps. "Wait, what? Already? Is this a shotgun wedding, or were you just hiding it from us this whole time?" "Yeah, that's fast. Spill the details." The gossiping swarmed around her like bees to honey, firing off questions. Bonnie just smiled, saying nothing, as she started passing out wedding invitations one by one. And then she stopped in front of me. Her lips curled into an exaggerated, mocking smile. "Miranda, you have to come. You're the one I'm looking forward to seeing the most. You wouldn't disappoint me, right?" A direct challenge. Her eyes glowed with smug satisfaction, waiting for me to react. But instead of giving her the satisfaction of a breakdown, something inside me clicked. A strange sense of clarity. Derek and I had kept our relationship completely private at work. He once told me it was to avoid unnecessary complications. So we never commuted together. He took the subway while I drove a beat-up old Ford, a car I had specifically bought from a second-hand dealer, just to keep up the illusion of an ordinary life. I had hidden everything, my background, my family, my wealth. But Bonnie knew. She knew everything. She must have known for a while now. After all, she was marrying my ex-husband. I met her gaze, unfazed, and reached out to take the invitation. "Of course I'll be there." And when the wedding day arrived, I showed up. I sat there watching them on stage, basking in their so-called happiness. But all I could see in my mind was myself. A few years ago, a few months ago. 6 months ago, when Derek and I got married, we kept things simple, to save money. My one and only wedding, and I had cut corners on everything. No designer gown. No diamond ring. Nothing extravagant. Because Derek's family had no savings, I had covered every single expense for our wedding. Back then, I truly believed that as long as he loved me, nothing else mattered. I still remembered him holding my hands that day, promising, "One day when things get better, I'll give you the wedding you deserve. I'll buy you the perfect dress, a real diamond ring. Something big. I'll make it up to you." I had believed him. And yet here we were. 6 months later, already divorced. How laughable. A murmur rippled through the guests around me, their voices hushed but unmistakable. "Did you hear? Bonnie's already pregnant. No wonder they got married so fast. Look at Derek's mom, she's grinning from ear to ear. Guess she finally got the grandchild she's been waiting for. I heard Bonnie's family bought them a house as a wedding gift. Wow, Bonnie's family must be well off. Derek really hit the jackpot." My fingers curled around my glass. So that was it. He had traded me in for a bigger house and a richer family. I barely even felt anything anymore. By the time the couple made their way around the room for the traditional toast, Bonnie's smirk was impossible to miss. Arm in arm with Derek, she raised her glass, her eyes locking onto mine with undisguised glee. "Miranda, you actually came. I was worried you wouldn't show up." The smugness in her voice made my skin crawl. To her, I was nothing more than a loser, the discarded first wife who had lost to her. But why should I make this so easy for her? Why should I let a homewrecker act so high and mighty in front of me? I smiled, swirled my wine glass, and as I took a sip, I casually reached for my phone. If Bonnie and Derek thought they had won, it was time to remind them exactly who they had underestimated. I typed a short message and hit send. To my father, the CEO of Goldleaf Realty Group. "Dad, I'm at the Westin Hotel. Can you come pick me up? I had a little too much to drink." Seconds later, my phone buzzed with a reply. "On my way." As the wedding wrapped up, Bonnie and Derek walked us to the entrance of the hotel. Laughter and conversation filled the air as colleagues teased the newlyweds. "Derek, where are you two going for your honeymoon? Don't forget to bring us souvenirs when you get back." Marriage is amazing. Having someone who loves you unconditionally, what a dream. Everyone was in high spirits, until we stepped outside and the chatter suddenly came to a halt. Gasps. Whispers. Stunned silence. Oh my God, look over there. It's Mr. Astor. Someone nudged Derek. Dude, you didn't tell us you invited the company's CEO to your wedding. That's some serious influence. Are you crazy? Why would Mr. Astor be here for Derek? Looks like he's waiting for someone. Bonnie stood frozen, her face pale with confusion. But Derek? I could almost hear the gears turning in his head, the frantic, desperate attempt to make sense of it all. Because there stood my father, Astor himself, the CEO of Goldleaf Realty Group. His former father-in-law. His face lost all color. And at that moment I finally stepped forward from the crowd. A slow, deliberate entrance. With a bright smile I linked my arm through my father's. Dad, you're here. Shockwaves. The whispers behind me exploded into chaos. Dad? Wait, did she just say, Dad? No way. That means, Miranda is Mr. Astor's daughter. Holy crap. I literally asked her to buy me coffee once. I turned slightly, looking right at Bonnie. Her face twisted in absolute disbelief. She wasn't smug now. She wasn't gloating now. She had gotten everything she wanted. The husband, the marriage, the prize she thought she stole from me. But in that moment she realized, she had married a man who threw away an empire for a 2-bedroom house. I held back a laugh, flashed her a dazzling smile and gave her a little wave. Bonnie, congratulations. Wishing you a happy marriage. Then without waiting for a response I turned to my father. Let's go home, Dad. And as we drove away, leaving behind a stunned, humiliated Derek and Bonnie, I had never felt lighter. The next morning I went to work as usual. But as soon as I stepped out of my car, I saw Derek standing by the company entrance. His suit was wrinkled, his face pale and haggard. He looked like he hadn't slept all night. Miranda, wait. He grabbed my wrist, desperation written all over his face. I pulled my hand back, looking at him like he was nothing more than a stranger. What's wrong? I asked, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Shouldn't you be on your honeymoon with your pregnant wife? Or did you suddenly realize you married the wrong woman? The old me, the one who still believed in him, who still thought he loved me, was gone. The only thing I felt for Derek now was pure, unfiltered disgust. A cheating husband. That's all he was. Why did you lie to me? His voice was hoarse, eyes filled with accusations. Lie to you? About what? You're the heiress of Goldleaf Realty Group. Your father is the CEO. Why didn't you ever tell me? Why did you keep it from me all these years? I almost laughed. That's what he was upset about. Not that he had cheated on me. Not that he had abandoned our marriage for money. No, what truly bothered him was that I hadn't told him I was rich. I crossed my arms, staring at him in disbelief. Oh, I see. So if you had known, you wouldn't have cheated? You wouldn't have divorced me for Bonnie? Is that it, Derek? My voice was cold, cutting through the morning air. Even now you still think it's someone else's fault. You still think you're the victim. I watched as his expression twisted, his jaw clenching. And in that moment, I truly realized, I had wasted 3 years of my life on a man I never really knew. What a joke. Derek suddenly reached out, his voice breaking. If I had known, I never would have looked at Bonnie. I love you, Miranda. His arms moved toward me as if he wanted to hold me, as if he had any right to touch me. But I shoved him away so hard he nearly stumbled. My lips curled in disgust. Don't touch me. You make me sick. And with that I turned on my heel and walked into the building, leaving him standing there, pathetic, desperate, and too late. For the first time in 3 years. I saw him for exactly what he was. And I never felt so free. As expected, today was anything but peaceful. Now that my real identity had been exposed last night, my parents had inevitably found out about my divorce as well. My mom was livid. That Derek. He never deserved you. I should have never agreed to this marriage in the first place. My dad was just as frustrated. That man is worthless. Now that you're divorced, come home. There's no need for you to stay in that company any longer. Miranda, I want you to work directly under me. I'll personally teach you the business. My secretary Lily will arrange everything for you first thing tomorrow. There it was. When everything fell apart, the only people who stood by me, unconditionally without hesitation, were my parents. And honestly, maybe this was for the best. By afternoon I had been relocated to the top floor of the company, far away from my old department, from the co-workers who were probably still buzzing about last night's drama. I didn't care. I had no interest in being the center of office gossip. During my lunch break, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen. Susan. My former mother-in-law. She must have found out everything too. For a second I debated ignoring it. If it weren't for her, if she hadn't constantly stirred up conflict, if she hadn't made our home unbearable, maybe my marriage wouldn't have fallen apart so quickly. Then again, maybe I should thank her. At least she made me see Derek's true colors sooner rather than later. I sighed and answered. Susan. Miranda, do you have time to meet for lunch? I'm downstairs at your office. I'd really like to talk. I suppressed an annoyed scoff. This woman seriously has no shame. Sorry, I'm busy. I don't have time. My voice was polite, but my patience was non-existent. I didn't want to see anyone from that family ever again. She hesitated. Miranda, I know I was wrong before. But I really have something to say to you. Please. I rolled my eyes. Susan, I don't know what there is to talk about. Derek and I are divorced. That chapter is closed. And before she could say another word, I ended the call. I wasn't about to let them ruin my day. Not today. Not ever again. After work, I headed to the underground parking lot, only to spot Susan standing next to my car. But not next to that old, beat-up Ford the first used to drive. No, she was standing beside my Maybach. The moment she saw me, her face lit up with a sickly sweet smile. A far cry from the woman who used to treat me like dirt. Miranda, you're off work. You must be so tired, right? Her voice was unnaturally friendly, her tone almost servile. I had heard her real voice before, sharp, condescending, full of scorn. So this was laughable. Funny how money and status could flip a person's attitude overnight. It was almost entertaining to see. I kept my expression neutral. Susan, what do you need? I had no intention of causing a scene. No matter what had happened, she was still someone I had lived with for months. Susan hesitated, then said, I actually came to apologize. On Derek's behalf. I raised an eyebrow. Apologize? For what? The cheating? The lies? The divorce? What exactly was left to apologize for? Yes. Derek was wrong. He never should have left you. You were such a good wife, he sees that now. She gave me a forced, rehearsed smile as if that would erase everything that had happened. I almost laughed out loud. What was the point of this now? Susan, whatever happened between Derek and me is in the past. There's no need to rehash it. I didn't want to waste another second of my time. I had dinner plans with my parents and that was what mattered. I turned to leave. But the moment I stepped forward, she grabbed my arm, panic flashing in her eyes. Miranda, wait. Just listen to me. Her next words nearly made me burst out laughing. Derek knows he made a mistake. If you just come back, I'll make sure he divorces Bonnie immediately. I swear. I blinked. Did I just hear that correctly? Did she seriously just suggest that I should take Derek back? That he would dump Bonnie the second I agreed? That after everything, the cheating, the betrayal, the humiliation, I would willingly walk back into that toxic family? It was, without a doubt, the funniest thing I had ever heard. I let out a small chuckle and pulled my arm free. Without another word, I opened my car door, slid into the driver's seat and drove away, not sparing her a single glance. That night, when I returned to my parents' house, it finally felt like I could breathe again. For the first time in a long while, I felt at home. After dinner, I sat between them watching TV, something we hadn't done together in years. Miranda, be good and move back home, all right? We don't feel at ease with you living alone. My mother had barely let go of my hand since I got back. My father, usually the stern and serious type, actually cracked a joke. You know, ever since you left, this TV barely gets turned on. Your mom and I had no reason to watch anything. I couldn't help but smile. All right. I'll stay home from now on. You'll be stuck with me every day. I leaned against my dad's shoulder, feeling a warmth I hadn't felt in years. For so long, I had thrown myself into my marriage, distanced myself from my family, all to prove a point that was never worth proving. And now, sitting here with them, I finally understood. Home was where I was truly safe. Before heading to bed, I suddenly remembered something. Dad, I know I'm divorced now. But let's be fair about this. If Derek still wants to keep working at the company, just let him. I had no interest in giving him the satisfaction of thinking I was out for revenge. My father nodded, not arguing. If that's what you want, then that's how it'll be. Later that night, as I stood in my childhood bedroom, memories washed over me. I had barely spent any time here since getting together with Derek. During college breaks, we'd go on trips, practically glued to each other every day. After marriage, in order to hide my real identity, I had never stayed here. The only times I returned were in secret, alone. And yet, standing here now, I felt more at peace than I ever had in my marriage. There were no lies here. No compromises. Just freedom. The next few days passed smoothly. No drama. No stress. Just quiet, normal days. Until one evening when I left work and saw Bonnie waiting in the parking lot. Even from a distance, I could tell her belly was starting to show. Derek's child. I really didn't need this. As soon as she spotted me, she straightened her posture, pressing her hand against her back, as if she were showing off. Miranda, stop right there. I sighed. What do you want? She was still acting superior, still carrying that self-satisfied attitude, as if she were some kind of victim in all of this. Honestly, I was sick of it. They were married now, so why were they still bothering me? Stop clinging to Derek. He practically spat the words. He's my husband now. And the father of my child. You need to let him go. I blinked. And I laughed. Clinging to Derek? I hadn't even spoken to him since our divorce. Bonnie. Are you hearing yourself? You're telling me to stop clinging to a man I haven't contacted once. Her face twisted with frustration. Then why is he ignoring me all the time? Why do we fight every day? It's because of you. She stepped closer, her movements agitated. I glanced at her stomach. I had zero interest in arguing with a pregnant woman in the middle of a parking lot. So I sighed, kept my voice calm and said, believe whatever you want, Bonnie. But I have nothing to do with your problems. And for the sake of your child, you should stop stressing yourself out over imaginary issues. Then, without waiting for her response, I got into my car and drove off. In the rearview mirror, I could see her still ranting and fuming. I didn't need to hear the words to know what she was saying. And honestly, I didn't care. Miranda, this project may be small, but it's your first one. Treat it as practice and do your best. In the executive office on the top floor, my father studied the report in my hands, his tone serious. I understand that you'll be going to Manhattan tomorrow to finalize the contract. I'll have Lily accompany you, she'll assist with anything you need. Make sure to discuss things with her if any issues arise, all right? Ever since I moved to the top floor, my father had been personally guiding me through the company's operations. And now this project was his way of testing me, a chance to prove myself. After the divorce, I was grateful that I hadn't allowed myself to sink into self-pity. Instead, I found a new kind of fulfillment in my work. Because as it turned out, love and marriage weren't everything. Women could build careers just like men, create their own success, carve out their own place in the world. We didn't have to be confined to kitchens and living rooms, consumed by trivial domestic conflicts. I smiled confidently. Got it, Dad. I'll make sure this deal goes through successfully, don't worry. The next day, Lily and I headed to Manhattan for the signing. 2 days later, when I returned to the office, I was met with cheers. Congratulations, Ms. Astor. You closed your first deal so smoothly. That's right, after divorcing Derek, I had officially reclaimed my real last name. And with my return from Manhattan, I had moved into my new office as the newly appointed marketing director of Goldleaf Realty Group. And in a poetic twist of fate, Derek was now working under me. He was just another member of my team. That's right. Our new boss should celebrate her big win. Astor, you're taking us out for a party tonight, right? Let's go all out. Party time. Most of the department was made up of people who had worked with both me and Derek before. Now that they knew I was Mr. Astor's daughter, they were still somewhat casual with me, but there was also a newfound respect. I laughed. All right, let's celebrate tonight at Dennis Club. Sound good? Dennis Club? That's a high-end place. We're getting spoiled tonight. I've never been there before. Thank you, Ms. Astor. Our boss is so generous. Thank you, Director. The excitement spread quickly through the department. Except for one person. Derek. He sat there, completely silent. Ever since I returned, he had tried to contact me twice, but I never answered. Because aside from work, I had no interest in speaking to him. No interest in engaging with him. and definitely no interest in being involved with his family ever again. Inside the private room at Dennis Club, the celebration was in full swing. Laughter, music, clinking glasses. Everyone was enjoying themselves. Me. I had been toasted one too many times. The alcohol buzzed through my system warm and heady, and at some point I decided I needed some air. I excused myself, stepping out onto the dimly lit street. The cool night breeze hit my face, but instead of clearing my head, it made me feel even dizzier. "Miranda, are you okay?" I turned around. Derek. I hadn't even noticed when he followed me outside. "I'm fine. Thanks for your concern." My voice was flat. I had no interest in speaking to him, so I turned away, looking out at the city below, the endless stream of cars, headlights flickering like distant stars. But Derek wasn't done. I want to talk to you." His words were slurred, his stance slightly unsteady. Clearly he'd been drinking too. I let out a slow breath. "Derek, you should know by now we're divorced. You have a wife. You have a child on the way. Other than work, I don't want us to have any connection. Got it?" For once, just once, I needed him to understand that I had moved on. But instead of backing off, his expression tightened. "I'm going to divorce Bonnie," he blurted. "I know I made a mistake. I regret it, Miranda. I really do. We were so happy before, don't you remember?" I almost laughed. Ah yes. The classic cheater's logic. Derek took a step closer, his desperation rising. His hand reached out, as if he actually thought he could touch me again. But before he could lay a finger on me, a firm grip yanked him back. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." A deep voice cut through the night. I turned. "Martin?" For a moment I thought I was seeing things. Martin Washington. My old high school classmate. And at one point the boy who lived next door to me. He had left for overseas studies right after graduation, and we had lost touch over the years. I never expected to see him here tonight. Derek's face twisted in confusion. "Who the hell are you?" Martin didn't even flinch. "That doesn't matter." His voice was calm, but there was an unmistakable edge to it. "What matters is that she clearly doesn't want to talk to you. So I suggest you leave." Derek clenched his fists as if debating whether to argue. But something in Martin's gaze, cold, unwavering, made him hesitate. I crossed my arms, watching Derek squirm under the pressure. "You heard him, Derek. Leave." For a long second, Derek stood there, face dark with frustration. But in the end he had no choice but to back off. Without another word, he turned and stumbled away into the night. The moment he was gone, I let out a small sigh. Martin turned to me, his expression softening. "It's been a while, Miranda." And just like that, a chapter from my past reopened itself. One I hadn't even realized I had missed. "Thanks for bringing me home." Martin had not only stepped in to get Derek off my back but had also made sure I got home safely. "Don't mention it. Technically I was heading home anyway. Or did you forget? I live right next door." I blinked, then laughed. "Right. I almost forgot." Martin had always been popular in high school, the kind of guy girls swooned over. He had this cold, distant aura that only made them fall harder. But now that aloof charm had settled into something deeper, mature, steady. "When did you get back?" I asked. "Just a couple of days ago. And this time I'm staying for good." Something about the way he said it made me pause, but I didn't think too much of it. "Well, good night then. I'm heading in." With that, I turned and stepped inside my house. The next morning, the office was buzzing with an unexpected piece of news. By the time I walked in, small clusters of employees were already whispering about it. Bonnie had been hospitalized. I frowned. "Bonnie?" Catching part of a conversation, I slowed my steps. "I heard Derek got drunk last night and they had a huge fight at home. He lost control and pushed Bonnie. She fell and they had to rush her to the hospital." "Is she okay?" someone else asked. "Yeah. The baby's fine. And Bonnie's not seriously injured. But I went to see her this morning. She's in a terrible mood." A hush settled over the group. They've only been married for what? A few weeks. What a mess. Can you imagine? He just married her and he's already getting violent. I stood there for a moment processing the news. And then I felt nothing. Not surprise. Not sympathy. Nothing. This was exactly the kind of man Derek had always been. Maybe Bonnie had convinced herself that taking someone else's husband would lead to happily ever after. But reality was far less forgiving. That afternoon, just as I was about to step out for a coffee, Derek barged into my office. "Miranda, did you hear? Bonnie got hurt last night." His eyes were bloodshot, his face pale and exhausted, like a man unraveling at the seams. I barely spared him a glance. "Then take a few days off and go take care of her at the hospital." I grabbed my purse and turned toward the door. Whatever happened between him and Bonnie had nothing to do with me. But before I could take a step, he lunged forward and grabbed my arm. "Don't go." His grip was tight, too tight. "Miranda, don't you get it? I fought with her because of you. That's why it happened. I didn't mean to push her, I swear. Everything I did, it was all for you." With wild desperation, he suddenly slammed the door shut, trapping me inside with him. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. "Derek, you're out of your mind. What the hell does this have to do with me? Did I tell you to fight with her? Did I ever interfere in your marriage?" For the first time in my life, I was scared of him. This wasn't the Derek I once knew. Yes, after we got married. He had grown distant, impatient, dismissive. But before that, he had always been gentle. He had never been like this. "I don't love her," he shouted, his voice cracking. "It was a mistake, Miranda. I was blind, I was stupid, I threw you away for a house. But I love you. You still love me too, don't you? We can start over." His words turned frantic, and before I could react, he tried to pin me against the wall, to hold me, to touch me, to force me to listen. That was the last straw. I slapped him across the face. Hard. The sharp crack of my palm echoed through the office. Derek staggered back. Stunned. I was trembling with rage. "Get a grip, Derek." I shouted, my voice hoarse. "We are divorced. There is no going back. Even if you leave Bonnie today, we will never, ever get back together." For a long moment he just stood there, chest heaving. Then his knees buckled and he sank to the floor. His hands clutched his hair, his entire body collapsing into itself like a man who had just realized his entire life had fallen apart. His voice was nothing more than a whisper now. "No way, we can't be over, Miranda. We can't." I took a shaky breath, staring at the broken man in front of me. And for the first time in years, I felt nothing for him. Not love. Not hate. Just nothing at all. Bonnie resigned after she was discharged from the hospital. When she came in to finalize her paperwork, she looked like a completely different person. She was supposed to be a young, fresh college graduate, full of energy, full of life. But marriage to Derek had aged her into something else entirely. A woman drained, worn, bitter. When she saw me, there was no more arrogance in her eyes. No more smug satisfaction. Instead, there was only defeat. "Miranda, you won. Congratulations." Her voice was quiet, almost lifeless. I sighed. "You're overthinking it. I was never trying to win anything. And honestly, Derek was never worth fighting over. I saw that the moment I divorced him." She laughed softly, but it was hollow. "You're right. He wasn't worth it. I was the idiot who didn't see it in time." There was no anger in her tone. No resentment. Just a terrifying calmness, the kind that made me uneasy. I hesitated. "Are you okay?" She glanced at me as if surprised I asked. Then she smiled faintly. "I'm fine. Thank you." And with that, she turned and walked away. Her thin, frail figure disappeared down the hallway, her steps slow, defeated, like a woman who had nothing left to give. For a second I almost pitied her. She had thrown herself into a relationship built on betrayal. But a marriage born from infidelity could never be strong. A child used to hold a man down would never be enough. And now, predictably, Bonnie and Derek were divorced. It was both unexpected and inevitable. Because in the end, a stolen marriage, a marriage of convenience, a marriage built on deception, was never meant to last. After all these, Derek's life spiraled downhill fast. At work, he lost focus, made careless mistakes, and missed deadlines. Without Bonnie's family backing him, his finances crumbled. The house he had traded our marriage for? Gone. His personal life was no better. His once prized confidence now reduced to desperation. And he kept coming back. Every few weeks he'd show up at my office, sometimes begging, sometimes angry, swinging between self-pity and blame. "Miranda, I was wrong. Can't we at least talk?" You were my only real love. I threw it all away and now I see it. Doesn't that mean anything to you? You don't have to forgive me, just give me another chance. But each time I remained calm, distant, unmoved. Derek, go home. There's nothing left between us. And finally, after his last humiliating attempt, he seemed to accept reality. He never came back again. Looking back, I didn't regret a thing. Not the marriage, not the heartbreak, and definitely not the divorce. Because that painful chapter had taught me everything I needed to know. I learned that love, no matter how deep, could never justify betrayal. That loyalty and respect mattered more than empty promises. And most importantly, that I didn't need to define my worth by a relationship. For too long, I had poured everything into a man who never truly deserved me. Now I poured everything into myself. My career was thriving, my family supported me, and for the first time in years I felt free. I didn't need closure from Derek, because I had already given it to myself. And as for the future, it was mine to build on my own terms.